Ladies and gentlemen, cricket fans around the world, today we are going to cross the thin line between nationalism and franchise cricket. Well, that's what the tabloids will be saying anyway. Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Corner podcast with me, Vatsal Vora, for your weekly news update episode from the world of cricket. I had no idea that it would be Jason Roy of all people to provide us with the news this week, but in all seriousness, it's a very delicate subject which will need discussing. So, what's the news? Well, the news is that Jason Roy has become the first England player to end his national contract in order to play franchise cricket. There is so much to talk about here, and let's start with Jason Roy himself. Well, I have an article from the BBC opened right in front of me here, and it says that opener Jason Roy has opted to cancel his incremental English deal worth around 60,000 to 70,000 pounds to play in the American Major League Cricket, which could see him earn 150,000 pounds a year. Now that kind of money, well, there are cricket boards that can compete with that kind of money. Let's say India is one of those, the BCCI is one of that cricket board which can give their players these kind of money, but England apparently can't. And if you see 60,000, 150,000, that's nearly double of what Jason Roy is pocketing in England. And if you get the same, like double the amount, you are obviously going to take that. So there is no blame here attached to Jason Roy, if you ask me personally. And I'm not doubting his patriotism. I'm not doubting his credentials towards England. Let's get that completely out of the way. I'm not pointing fingers at Jason Roy here, because let's be honest, he has made it quite clear that England will be remaining his number one priority despite him giving up his English contract. Now, those of you who don't understand how the cricket contracts situation here is working, let me get this clear for you guys. Yes, Jason Roy has become the first England player to end his national contract, but that doesn't mean that Jason Roy will not be allowed to play for England anymore. Jason Roy will still be in contention to be picked in the England squad for the upcoming Cricket World Cup. That situation has not changed, and Roy himself has made that quite clear. I have the article from the BBC, and that has a few words from Jason Roy which are as follows. Roy said, "To be very clear, my priority is England cricket, especially with a World Cup soon upon us." And in a social media post, he quite clearly mentions that it is for me and for any player the greatest honor to receive a cap to play for their country. I wanted to clarify that I am not and never will walk away from England. Now that clears all the doubts around Jason Roy and his commitment towards his national team. The ECB themselves have published a statement which states the following, that Jason Roy has informed the England and Wales Cricket Board that he wishes to take up an agreement with Major League Cricket in USA later this summer. The ECB have agreed for him to play in the competition provided he gives up the remainder of his ECB incremental contract, which both parties have agreed to. The ECB wishes to clarify that this decision will not affect Jason's selection for England teams going forward. We have absolute confidence and faith that Jason is committed to England cricket. I'm glad that both the parties here are on the same page. So yes, that is the news surrounding Jason Roy himself. And to be completely clear with the listeners here, Jason Roy will be playing in the Major League Cricket. I think the rumors are circulating that he will be playing for the LA Knight Riders. Now that is quite interesting because Roy represented the Kolkata Knight Riders in the IPL just last week at the time of recording, that is. So yeah, that is Jason Roy. Now, the Sky have stated that Roy is set to return to England to play in the 100 for the Oval Invincibles in August. So I think Jason Roy is just going to miss the county championship matches and the T20 Blast. And in order to not play in those competitions and to move abroad, you need the NOC from the ECB. which I don't think ECB would have granted. And the only way to play in those tournaments is to give up your England contract, which I think Jason Roy has done. And fair play to him, I guess. The money is quite good. His position in the England team is not going to suffer due to his commitment of playing franchise cricket. So yeah, fair enough to Jason Roy, and I hope he has a great tournament in the US, because that tournament is really gathering some traction, because several leading T20 players have already signed up for that tournament in the stateside. Some of the players which are going to play in the MLC include the likes of Marcus Stoinis, Quinton de Kock, Vanindu Hasaranga, Enric Nokia, Glenn Phillips, and the leagues and the teams over there are also expected to sign the likes of Trent Bolt and Adam Zampa. Those are some big names when it comes to international cricket. Those are some big names when it comes to IPL cricket. So I don't see any problems why Jason Roy has picked that, and I wish him all the best. But the main talking point here is not just Jason Roy. The main talking point here is the future of cricket and international cricket in general. Now, there is no hiding from the fact that international cricket is in danger of being overshadowed by franchise cricket or T20 cricket in general. You can be a cricket enthusiast, you can be a cricket romanticizer, but you can still not deny the fact that international cricket is now second in thought for many players around the world. And well, Jason Roy, from his statement, does mention that England is still his priority, but well, you can see players, earning a fat paycheck in franchise cricket and giving up their international career altogether. Now, these kind of rumors are going to be prevalent, and they first started all the way back during the early stages of this year's IPL, which was like a couple of months back, and that was surrounding Jofra Archer. There were news reports stating that Jofra Archer could be given a multi-year contract by the Mumbai Indians, which will see him be a Mumbai Indians employee first and then an English employee. And one thing that everyone needs to understand is the fact that teams and franchise owners have a family of teams all around the world, and Mumbai Indians is one of the best examples to do so. So let's assume for a minute that Jofra Archer has penned that Mumbai Indians contract, okay? But that doesn't mean that Jofra Archer will be playing for just the Mumbai Indians for like 3 months in the IPL, and for the rest 8 or 9 months he'll have his feet up and will be doing nothing. No, that is not the case, because Mumbai Indians have teams all over the world, and the MI side is just one of the many examples which we have. And these kind of a group of teams, a family of teams, is quite prominent business venture for franchise owners of IPL teams. Let's just stay with Mumbai Indians. They have the Mumbai Indians in the IPL, which is in India. The MI Cape Town side is a SA20 side in South Africa, and I think they also have a MI New York side now in the MLC, the Major League Cricket tournament, which is going to start in like July now. And this is just one example. Let's talk about the Kolkata Knight Riders now. The Kolkata Knight Riders have a team in the IPL. They have the Trinidad Knight Riders in the Caribbean Premier League. I think there was a Knight Riders side in the Abu Dhabi Premier League as well. And then there's the Chennai Super Kings side. The Chennai Super Kings, the CSK side, is playing in the IPL. They have the Texas Super Kings now in the MLC. I think they have a team in the SA20 as well. I can't recollect the name, but yes, they have that under their conglomerate as well. The Sunrisers Hyderabad have a team in the IPL and also have a team in SA20. The Delhi Capitals have a team in SA20 and the IPL as well. So that's a very common phenomenon in this modern day and age of franchise cricket. So let's assume for a fact that a player X signs a contract with Super Kings. I think if he gives up his international contract whatsoever, he'll be allowed to play in all these leagues for the same franchise. I'll be a franchise player first and then he'll be a national player. I think that will be probably like a football atmosphere when the cricket association will have to ask and take permission from these franchise owners to let them play for their country. But that's getting too far ahead. The thing now is that there are so many T20 leagues around the world. The IPL first started all the way back in 2008, and seeing the success of the IPL and the money which it generates has prompted so many nations to start their own league in this cricketing fraternity. Of course, you have the IPL in India, the SA20 in South Africa, Caribbean Premier League in the Caribbeans, obviously like the West Indies, Major League Cricket in USA now, Abu Dhabi T20 League, which is called the International League T20, and that league has so many English players playing for them. There's Moeen Ali, there's Alex Hales, there's Tom Curran. Those are the three players I remember at the top of my head. There's obviously the PSL in Pakistan, there's the Big Bash League in Australia, there was the Bangladesh Premier League, there's the Sri Lankan Premier League, there's obviously the 100 as well, which is, let's be honest, it is not a T20 league. The 100 is just 100 balls. But if you say that it's a league to counter franchise cricket, I think you will be right, because England have the T20 blast, but they still have a franchise model cricket, which is the 100, which is like trying to be disruptive and have something new. But I'll include that under franchise cricket as well. So we have established the fact that T20 cricket is on the rise, franchise cricket is on the rise, but the thing that is worrying people around the world is that, will we see another Jason Roy? Will we see another player who will give up his international contract and play for these franchise sides? Because it could very well be a domino effect, because let's be honest, Jason Roy is a big player. Like, he's a superstar when it comes to international cricket. He's a prominent name in franchise cricket as well. Jason Roy was part of the England side which won the World Cup. He is one of the most destructive players. He's had 2 ODI centuries this year against Bangladesh and South Africa. So he's one of the more prominent names in international cricket. And the worrying sign is he could be the first domino to fall. And players might feel like, well, Jason Roy has given up his international contract with England, his central contract. Let's just follow him and sign for a franchise side. Reece Topley is one which is named to be possibly following in the footsteps of his Surrey teammate and give up on his incremental contract from the ECB as well. So there's another one. Reece Topley is one. There's obviously Jofra Archer in the news as well. I'm not sure whether he has decided or not, because those news were just one-off and those completely died down after a couple of weeks. So that could be the future of franchise cricket. I was listening to Harsha Bhogle, the Indian commentator, the best commentator, one of the best commentators in international cricket. I was listening to one of his podcasts on The Great Cricketer, which is one of my favorite cricketing podcasts. If you're unaware of that, make sure you are listening to those guys as well. On that Great Cricketer podcast, Harsha Bhogle said, is cricket going to follow the footballing way, where club football, it's franchise cricket which is going to be played throughout the year, and players will occasionally play for their country? Because the IPL is currently 2 and 2.5 months long, a little more than 2 months long. There are rumors stating that the IPL could be as long as 3 months. So that's like 1/4 of the year gone right there. Then you have the Big Bash, then you have the 100, the Major League Cricket, Caribbean Premier League, Sri Lankan Premier League, SA20, so many leagues. So if players continue to play in these leagues, when are they going to get chance of playing for the national side? Now, there have been rumors stating that Saudi Arabia want to have their own cricketing league, and they'll make sure that there's no international cricket played when that tournament takes place, just like the IPL. So again, if big players sign for that big league, will they ever play international cricket again? Now that is something very interesting to me. The reason why I feel like international cricket is here to stay is because there is still romantic connection between players, fans, and their nation. Yes, football has love for their country, but you usually see, like, when you usually think of a player, you think of his club first and not his national team. Like when I say Kylian Mbappe, for example, when you hear the word Kylian Mbappe, the first image which provokes in your mind is that of Paris Saint-Germain probably, and not the French national team. But on the contrary, when I say Virat Kohli, you don't think of RCB. Well, it's the IPL season, so you might think of IPL side. But when you usually hear the word Virat Kohli, I think India is the first image which is invoked in your mind. And that's the reason why international cricket is still prominent. Yes, Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings is a big fixture, and if they play in the IPL final on Sunday, there is a possibility that the viewership numbers would skyrocket. But then, do you think those numbers are going to compete with, let's say, India versus Pakistan T20 match? I don't think so, because franchise cricket, yes, it's popular, but it's popular to just one kind of an area. Let's say Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings are playing. I think the viewership in Chennai and Mumbai will be a lot more compared to, let's say, Ahmedabad or Kolkata. I'm not saying that there won't be people tuning in. I'm sure there will be, but you cannot compare those numbers with that of an India-Pakistan game, for an example, because that's the main cricket. Indians love watching India play. English cricket fans will love watching England play. Pakistan fans love watching Pakistan play. It's not like, well, I'm from London, so let me watch the Oval Invincibles and I'll not watch England whatsoever. That is not going to happen in cricket anytime soon. I have seen football fans just tuning in to watch club football, and the only reason why they watch international football is to watch a certain player who plays for their club and see how he plays for their national side. I don't think international football is going to overtake club football anytime soon. International football is only relevant when it comes to World Cups, and cricket is not following that same route. Cricket is still being followed, even though it's a bilateral series or a tri-series, and it's not prominent when it's the T20 World Cup or the 50-over World Cup. The popularity of that sport rises when there's the World Cup, but it just does not go to zero when there's a bilateral series. Let's take Ashes for an example. Like, I've been looking forward for the Ashes for a number of months now. I was so excited to watch the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Like, the hype for that tournament started like 3 months back. You don't see that with international football. Like, you don't, like, international friendly between Germany and England doesn't have that same hype. Like, and you cannot therefore compare club football with franchise cricket, because there is still life in international cricket, and I don't see that dwindling anytime soon. But it is on the downward trajectory. The Jason Roy contract could be a domino effect, but on the other hand, you can argue saying that Jason Roy is not giving up on any of his international cricket, because he'll be back for the limited overs cricket when the Ashes is done. I think England play New Zealand and Ireland in a one-day series right after the Ashes. We all know Jason Roy is not going to be picked for the Ashes. He's not a test player whatsoever, so it makes sense for him to skip and go to America to play to play franchise cricket. So Jason Roy is not giving up on his international career anytime soon. But if there is a player who is ready to give up on his national contract, that does mean that there are other players in the cricketing fraternity that have the same mindset. I'm not saying that Reece Topley is going to do that, but if he is mentioned in the news, I'm very well certain that it could be him who is the second player to do it after Jason Roy. So this is really interesting. Now, Jason Roy is not going to play for England during the test series. That's why he's going to play in America. But then what happens when the league clashes with international cricket? Which kind of cricket, which format of the game will be given priority? Because if you are contracted by, let's say, LA Knight Riders, the LA Knight Riders might not want you to go and play for England because there's an important game coming up against the Texas Super Kings, for example. That's a scenario that can happen. We have seen it happen the other way around, people giving up on IPL or franchise cricket and to play for their national side. Ben Stokes left the Chennai Super Kings camp early to practice for the Ashes. Now there could be a scenario the other way around. Let's say someone leaves international cricket early because they have been contracted to play in the SA20 and they need him early so they can get used to the conditions, get used to their surrounding, get used to the new teammates or whatsoever. So that is a real possibility which can happen in international cricket and franchise cricket battle, which is why I'm kind of worried. Because if you ask me personally, my personal take would be that I want international cricket to flourish. I want one-day cricket to flourish. I want test cricket to be even more popular than it is today. I want T20 cricket to flourish, but international T20 cricket. But on the contrary, I heard an Indian commentator, I don't remember who it was, stating that do we even need international T20 cricket when there is so much T20 cricket happening all over the world? Do we need a bilateral series between India and New Zealand and play 5 T20 matches when they are basically, you can give up that time, play one-day cricket or test cricket in that place, because they are going to anyway be playing like more than 10 T20 games in a calendar year. Now a player like let's take Martin Guptill for example, because he's quite a prominent player when it comes to franchise cricket. He plays in the Pakistan Super League, the PSL. He plays in other T20 leagues as well. So do you think a player of his caliber requires international T20 cricket? Because let's say there's a T20 World Cup. Yes, you play a couple of warm-up games and just start playing in the World Cup. You don't need to play another bilateral series just to be able to play in those ICC tournaments, because they play in T20 cricket all over the world. That's an argument I am really, really interested in, because I kind of agree with that kind of a notion, but that is just me. I have so much to talk about when it comes to international cricket and franchise cricket. I had a very healthy chat with one of my mates who is a big cricket fan, and his opinion was that he doesn't see any problems as to why Jason Roy is given up on his national contract because of the money. Now the money these leagues generate is immense, as I already mentioned. So, and this is just Jason Roy. Let's say a Josh Butler is being given an offer, because you can assume that Josh Butler is going to get a lot more pay than Jason Roy. Don't get me wrong, Jason Roy is a wonderful player, but Josh Butler is a legendary T20 player, T20 World Cup winning captain, England's limited over captain. So you never know what price he might be given to give up his national contract. So it's all very interesting to me. I am really happy that there is some change in cricket. Like, cricket usually is a pretty stagnant game. There are not many innovations happening in the game of cricket, if you ask me. The last innovation was probably T20 cricket. After that, the games remain stagnant. But then the prominence and the increasing prominence, that is, of franchise cricket could swing the balance in these owners, in these franchise cricket clubs apart, and take power away from international cricket. But that's the future. That's for the future. I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, so those were my thoughts on Jason Roy and him giving up on his English national contract to sign for a major leagues cricket side. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you're listening this on YouTube, or if you're listening this on Spotify or any other platforms. Make sure you are tweeting me your thoughts if you have any, because I for once am really excited. And if this story develops, if this Jason Roy story develops, and let's say some other player signs for a franchise, or let's say a big player like Josh Butler or Ben Stokes, someone of those caliber sign, I'm really happy to do a part 2 to this recurring story. But for now, this has been quite a fun chatty episode. I've been preparing for this episode right when Jason Roy signed his contract and gave up on his English one. But yeah, it's fascinating to me, and I'm really happy with how this podcast turned out. Make sure you're giving me those 5-star ratings on Spotify. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing on YouTube. This is me, Vatsal Vora, signing off after a wonderful talk surrounding international cricket and franchise cricket. Hope you guys liked it as well. Signing off now. Ciao for now.